Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And in this week's episode, I'd like to share with you some small but powerful mindset shifts to help you in your life after sugar. I mean, what does that even mean, life after sugar? Well, funnily enough, it has less to do with what you eat than how you think. So I'll give you some examples of little tweaks in your mindset that can help you live a joyful sugar-free life in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. Come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, so the first mindset shift actually comes from a live that I did a while ago, and it concerns the need to finish a meal with dessert. And I used to believe that a meal wasn't complete if it didn't end on a sweet note. And in my life after sugar, I had to change my outlook or my mindset because this type of limiting belief was actually working against me. So here's the mindset shift that may help you. And I'm just wondering if you believe that a meal isn't complete without dessert. Because I personally believe that for the first 45 years of my life, you can't have a meal without finishing it off with something sweet, right? It's just not done. Well, in Life After Sugar, you're in charge. You can create any kind of rules about your meals and your food that you want. And one of the rules that I ended up believing in my life after sugar was that having a meal in and of itself is a treat, and there is no need for dessert. And that's just fine. I don't feel deprived. You don't have to feel like you're missing out. Just a meal is just okay. And there's nothing missing if there's no sweetness. The next small but powerful mindset shift has to do with special occasions or times of the year or even the seasons. For example, can you imagine spending a whole summer without sweet frozen treats? I certainly couldn't. It was impossible for me to imagine that summer would be summer without ice cream or popsicles. And yet, summer came along every year, whether or not I was sugar-free. And since 2015, when I stopped eating sugar, I've enjoyed my summers immensely, even if I don't eat sugar. So let's see if this mindset shift that I recorded a while back can help you. And I just wanted to have a little chat with you today about how you can live happily through the summer being sugar-free. For me, it's not a question of using sugar to increase my happiness. Life after sugar is all about, for me at least, being happy even with or without sugar. In other words, not needing sugar to have a happy summer, happy fall, happy winter, happy spring, whatever time of the year. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what I did during the summer, in case you're wondering, well, what do you eat during the summer if you're sugar-free? So for me, what does sugar-free mean? It means for the last 7 years, I've not eaten refined sugar, refined grains or starches, so flour and so on. Basically, no processed foods or very, very little. And I don't eat sweeteners either. And I've been doing this for 7 years very happily, which means that my taste buds have changed to the extent that I don't even like sweet tastes anymore. So I'm not always running after them, which means that in the summertime, as in every time of the year, but specifically in the summertime, I don't need, popsicles and ice cream and whatever, like frozen sweet treats, because first of all, I don't like sweetness, the sweet tastes. And second, if I am hot, which is relatively rare here in Canada, but we do get some hot days, well then, I can eat other cold types of foods, like basically ice or ice drinks, iced coffee. And I don't need like industrially created and prepared sweet frozen treats. They're not treats for me. So I don't need those to be happy during the summer. And the secret, it's no secret because I'm telling you here, that the secret is to train your taste buds so that you like less and less sweetness, and over time you can get to a point where your taste buds are so sensitive to sweet tastes that it only takes a tiny little bit for you to be satisfied, or even for you to feel like overwhelmed by sweetness, which is the case for me. So that's one way of living a happy sugar-free summer, where you're not always running after sweet tastes. And another way is to fill your life with activities that you love, foods that you love, people who you love, so that it's like sugar gets crowded out. There is no room for sugar and no need for sugar, because your life's perfectly happy, thank you very much. And sugar doesn't get a look in, you don't need it. So it may be easier said than done, or you may feel that, well, look, if I don't get sweet treats or these types of foods in the summer, then how can I possibly have a happy summer? And my approach in Life After Sugar is not to give away your power, your personal power to sugar to determine whether or not you're happy or not. So you can be responsible for your own happiness with or without sugar, and preferably without, so that you can get rid of all the negative consequences of sugar and just keep the happiness, right? So that's another way, and it's a very kind of powerful mindset shift that is not easy to make if you're still in this like box or in this paradigm of believing that, the way of getting comfort or reward or happiness is through sugar, or, fill in the blanks for whatever processed food product that you may be thinking of. So that's the kind of approach of Life After Sugar. My approach is to help you to realize and to be aware of everything that's good in life, the teeny tiniest things that you can appreciate, so that you don't feel like it's not enough, and then you're not turning to sugar or in the summertime frozen sweet treats in order to kind of fill some kind of a gap, right? Hope that makes sense. But it really is like an approach or a mindset that is more to do with gratitude for what you do have and what's beautiful and sweet in your life, than looking for things that can fill a hole or fill a need. So that's, for me, how I've been living for the last 7 years, and how you can also learn to live your life and have a happy, sugar-free summer, because you're learning how to appreciate all the things you do, all the things you eat, all the people you're with, and you don't need sugar at all. I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. Okay, so here's another small but powerful mindset shift when you're feeling down or emotional or exhausted and all you want to do is reach out for a sweet treat or chocolate or even a salty crunchy thing so that you feel better, right? Well, what I discovered for myself and what I help others to discover is that dealing with your emotions via sweet or crunchy salty foods is actually a way for most of us to avoid feeling, well, uncomfortable feelings. And once we learn how to actually feel those feelings and deal with our emotions in a healthy, grown-up way, then we don't need to turn to sugar or comfort foods anymore. So let me play for you the small but powerful mindset shift that I recorded a couple of years ago, but that's still relevant for you today. I don't know about you, but I don't always feel happy and energetic and in a good mood. And in the past, I used to reach out for chocolate and sugary treats to just make me feel better and basically smother all my negative feelings. And when I stopped eating sugar, I had to learn how to deal with all of my human emotions. And I tell you, it wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it. Because now that I have my toolbox to help me actually deal with my feelings, I don't need sugar anymore to numb my emotions. And all it took was a little bit of guidance. You know, help from someone who's been there, done that. And now that I've learned how to better regulate my emotions without sugar, this is what I teach inside of my program. Okay, so here's one last small but powerful mindset shift to do with how you see food and especially how you see a balanced plate. And I use air quotes liberally here. In fact, this mindset shift is more to do with reframing or reevaluating the whole notion of balanced. Because when we are told to eat a little bit of everything or everything in moderation, well, for many of us, that type of moderation, especially with sugar and starchy foods, unbalances us. So here's my tip for you. Today's low sugar tip. And my low sugar tip, how to reduce the amount of sugar or starches that we eat, is to replace all the starchy sides that we're so used to eating, like white rice, pasta, and all those other starchy sides, even like not necessarily baked potatoes or unprocessed potatoes, but the processed potatoes, like the industrial fries, for example. So try to eat less of those, and instead of them, to replace them with either more vegetables, which is never a bad thing, or more of the protein, the unprocessed proteins, whether it's plant-based or animal-based proteins, and therefore your plate will be just as full as it used to be with those starchy sides. But you may find that after your meal, you actually feel fuller, more satiated, and that you're not necessarily hankering for something else after the meal, whether it's a dessert straight after or a snack a couple of hours after, because good sources of proteins and fats help to make you feel fuller for longer. And those starchy sides that we're so used to eating from our childhood and our youth are actually, they may be taking up more space on the plate, but they could also be causing you to feel hungrier in just an hour or two after you've eaten. So you don't have to eat less. You just have to think about how you can fill your plate differently. So I hope that these small but powerful mindset shifts can help you on your path to your life after sugar. Because the reason I called it life after sugar and not life without sugar is that I find that the word without has a pretty negative connotation. It brings up images of lack and deprivation and restriction. And that's the complete opposite of what life after sugar is all about. In fact, the word after is more like a before and after transformation. And with these mindset shifts comes the transformation. And that's exactly what we do together in my 90-day program, the Freedom from Cravings Formula. So if you're at a stage in your life where you're ready to get rid of cravings, then as I just mentioned, my program, the Freedom from Cravings Formula, could be a perfect fit for you. But there's so much confusing and contradictory information out there. How are you supposed to know what's right for you? Well, that's exactly why I created my 90-day program, the Freedom from Cravings Formula. It's a program that's specifically designed for women over 50 who want to get rid of cravings and feel more in control around food, especially sugar and comfort foods. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you get control over cravings so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of a restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life where you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can hop on a free clarity call with me at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on the big green button, Schedule a Clarity Call. We'll have a quick 30-minute one-on-one chat to see if the Freedom from Cravings Formula 90-day program is a good fit for you. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.